What if the power to secure your own food supply is already in your hands, or actually in your garden? In today's video, we're going to be talking seed saving and seed storage. We've actually got a bit of work to do on our seed collection, and so we thought, well, while we're going through it all and making sense of it all for ourselves, we might as well share some of this with you. Probably one of the biggest questions we get on our gardening videos is, how do you save your seeds? There's lots of different ways to do this, but we thought, let's share with you the way we do it, and hopefully that's of some use to you.
Well, I guess the thing about summer is that it's your easiest and biggest growing season. So I know that I needed to take the things that we've grown over the summer and I wanted to save those seeds. It's probably the first of the seeds that we'll be saving that have grown here. But I guess the first question is why would you bother and why not just buy your seeds every year?
Yep. Yeah, and it's a fair question because there's actually a lot of work in saving seeds, and you might just kind of go, well, why not just go down to my, whatever it is, Bunnings, wherever you buy your seeds from, and just buy packets, or even just jump online and order seeds. Surely that's easier. That's part of the system. We'll get to that in a minute. We do buy seeds and we'll show you why and how. But actually, it's all about growing the best food for your garden. If you know anything about gardening, if you've done gardening for a little while now, you'll know that plants either thrive or not in your garden, and you can be talking to friends and family who grow the exact same variety from the exact same seed packet, and they get different results to you. And the reason for that is acclimatization. So plants do get acclimated to where they're growing over time. And if you think about that genetically and kind of evolutionarily, every plant that grows in your garden is genetically diverse and different.
Yeah.
Some of them will naturally grow stronger and healthier. Why wouldn't you want to repeat those results? And that's probably the main reason, is because the plants that grow strong in your garden, you want that again next year. And so if we save seeds from those plants, we should get those results again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess the other side of it is financial. If you're buying a packet of seeds, it's not expensive, but this then ensures if you're saving your seeds season after season, your food production costs go down because you're not buying in new seeds every single year, every single season. So you're actually building your own seed bank and your own stockpile of seeds that you can then rely on if for some reason you can't buy seeds anymore.
Yeah, well, that's a fair consideration. The big what ifs, we live in uncertain times.
Yep.
What if all of a sudden seed, and it's happening. We have seen seed prices online change dramatically over particularly the last handful of years.
Yep. What I've just done is one of our seed suppliers had a 70% off sale. So I've just gone through and bought a new batch of seeds for everything that we would grow for the year. That cost me $55. What I wanted to do is hedge our bets. I know that I'm going to save all of these seeds, but I'm just hedging my bets for this first year. I just want to open this.
All right. While you're opening your Christmas present and kind of going through some of the seeds, let me tell you why we buy from the supplier that we buy from and why we typically don't buy. I know it's probably right there in the front of the shot. There's a packet of seeds that you'd get from, Bunnings or whatever. That's DT Brown. There's Mr. Fothergill's. There's all those seed packets that you're used to seeing in the shop. Our local little supermarket store has these for $2.50 a packet. So that was just to kind of get up and going in the garden to be growing something. But to be honest, all that oregano, I would never save those seeds. And I'll tell you why. I don't know their history. I don't know their genetics. What you're looking for if you're going to get into seed saving is heirloom seeds.
Yes.
So heirloom, think kind of ancestry. That word is all about kind of what gets passed down. So an heirloom seed is going to produce a plant that can produce the seeds equivalent to what were planted in the ground. In opposition to that, you've got hybrid seeds. And even worse than that, you've got GMO seeds. We won't get into that. Just, Google or AI search GMO and you'll realize why you don't want to be growing those seeds. That, just from a genetic point of view, they have been seriously tampered with. Hybrid is not GMO. But hybrid is where you take characteristics from two or multiple plants and you get them over a series of generations to cross-pollinate, mix their genetic material together, and then produce a plant that is definitely superior. It might be superior in pest resistance, it might be superior in taste, in fruit size, whatever the characteristics you were going for when you were hybridizing those plants. You're going to get that in the fruit, but then that seed that comes out of that fruit, say it's say it's a tomato, and that's a hybrid of a number of different tomatoes, it's got this mishmash mixture of genetic material in there that has no possible way to reproduce exactly what's in that. Because, like it might take some of those strengths that were in that and pass it down into the seed that it produces, but it won't be all of them. Now, the difference then between that and an heirloom seed is an heirloom plant is one that just reproduces after its own kind year after year after year.
I know the way that they're meant to.
Yeah,
right?
It's basically nature at its best. And nature does this, which is why we said you want to do seed saving to preserve strong genetics. That's essentially what a good heirloom supplier like these guys are doing. They're preserving strong genetics.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kirsty's just unwrapped her order and is pretty excited. Tell us about these seeds, where you got them from and why, but also tell us about some of the suppliers that we've used over the years.
Okay, so these ones I got from Happy Valley Seeds. Like I said, they had a 70% off sale. I like these guys because they're medicinal herbs. They have a really good medicinal herb section. And they had ashwagandha, and I wanted to be able to grow our own ashwagandha. So that's why I was like, oh, they've got ashwagandha. What else do they have? And that's where I found that they had a sale, and then it all snowballed from there. But Happy Valley we've bought from a few times. The other places that we prefer are Eden Seeds. If you're into heirloom seeds, then Eden Seeds in Australia is probably like the biggest one.
Yeah, and you can get Eden Seeds online, but also a lot of local places stock Eden Seeds. So, check out your local Mitre 10 or wherever first. They might just have them on the shelf.
You can probably see some of them, like some of those packets in here. And the Seed Collection is another place that we've been buying from for years.
Seed Collection do these like $1 or $2 packets, like really cheap, but they just don't get as many in it. And sometimes that's what you need.
Well, I think sometimes having thousands of seeds is what gets things out of control so quickly, because you're like, I'm not using them all. And then you're not buying fresh ones because you've already got some, but then they're getting old, and it kind of snowballs and gets a little bit out of hand.
So we can buy seeds, online or in a store if we know that they're heirloom. We can save our own seeds, which is preferable. But the other thing we could do is we could get seeds from fellow gardeners.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably one of my favorite ways of, like we're homesteaders, bartering and trading, and hey, I've got this and it's working really well for me. Do you want some? And that's just how this community works. I love it.
Particularly when you find something that you're like, this year I grew, well, for me, actually this year, it's this little yellow tomato. Like I'm super excited by this, and I'm going to be sharing it with everyone because look, out of these 4 little tomatoes, I'll get more than all the seeds I need. So I'm going to be giving some away. All right, we'll get to kind of harvesting some of our own seeds in a moment. And we'll show you, like I said, we're not going to show you everything. There's like 100 different types of seeds that you save in different ways. And we're not, just Google that information. But before we do that, let's talk about storage and systems. This is your forte.
So there's probably 3 elements that I use, even with the seeds that I buy. The first is containers that you can store them in to keep them organized. And there's some people sort them by category, some people sort them by season. It's completely up to you. This one here is my A to Z, because I should be able to just find anything that I want if it's in alphabetical order. And this one here is my flowers and my herbs and my medicinal herbs, only because Regan doesn't really ever touch those.
Well, they're 2 separate gardens, aren't they?
They're 2 separate gardens.
That's our main garden.
And this one here is the one that Regan goes into the most, and it is therefore the one that I have to reorganize the most. This is all relatively cheap infrastructure. I think that was like $5 off eBay just to get some little seed bags that are, yeah, they're plastic, but I can reuse them as well.
Yeah.
That keeps everything airtight. And then $20 on $20 for like 1,000 of these little brown paper bags here. That helps me to record what things are, when they were saved, when they were bought, where they were bought from, if someone's given it to us, who gave it to us. The containers are important because once they, like if I'm in and out of the garden over a weekend, I'll probably keep them outside.
Yeah.
But once I'm done with them, these go in the freezer. Why would we put them in the freezer? Because it's a temperature controlled, humid free environment, and that's the best situation to be able to ensure the longevity of your seeds.
Yeah, seeds go incredibly dormant in frozen situations. Yeah. There's actually a worldwide seed bank in Iceland, I think I want to say, Norway or Iceland, and it's like they have thousands of varieties of plants up there, and the reason that they've built this massive facility up there is so that if anything happened, which kind of makes you realize it's not just homesteaders that think this way. There's like organizations on a global scale that are thinking, hey, we might need to protect, kind of the genetic diversity that we have.
Food, yeah.
And the reason they picked that country is because of the cold. And so obviously they keep them as cold as possible. So the freezer is your best bet.
So another question that we've been asked is, how do we record what we're planting and when? Look, it's completely up to however your brain works. My brain works differently to Regan's brain. Regan had a spreadsheet. I couldn't interpret it. I know my sister-in-law uses a planting diary, like actual, she writes it all down. We use a project management tool for everything that we do anyway. It's called Asana. And I just have a gardens project on Asana. And I record down when I plant things, and then I tick that off as a task, and it does all of my record keeping for me. It tracks the date and the time, and I can add notes into those tasks.
Yeah.
So then I can go back and see what I planted in June, what I planted in July.
And look, you can get super technical and nerdy and geeky about all of this. We've used apps in the past.
Yeah.
So honestly, a freebie, real simple app, if you're into that, is Gardenate. Garden ATE, just that's an app on your mobile device that's got a diary in it. It's got what time of year to plant everything. You can keep records that way. What we found is that we needed a system that worked for both of us. So I definitely gravitate towards those more, like I like to nerd out on all the numbers and dates and all that, and then I can easily get distracted by it, and then it's a headache because you've got to interpret it.
And then I can't interpret it.
So you also kind of have to work with your team, which is us, and that's something that works for us. So that might work for you. A paper version might work for you. An app.
Whatever works for you.
Yeah. So we should probably take a minute to explain just some, if you've never saved seeds before, what that means, let it go to seed.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you know this, but the broccoli, that bit that you're eating, that's the flower of the plant that hasn't fully opened yet. If you always eat the broccoli, you never get the seeds. So that's definitely one aspect. You've got to decide that certain crops you're going to allow to go, and that might be allow it to dry, like this sunflower, left it until the absolute last moment in the garden, drooped over, looking very sad, and then cut it down, hang it up to dry. A lot of seeds you have to dry out.
So
wheat's a great example. Corn would be another example of that.
Let it dry out.
Let it dry out. Chilies, capsicums are a good one. Just like, Sam, who gave me these, he was like, how do I save those for you? I'm like, honestly, just put them on your kitchen bench or your windowsill, let it shrivel up and dry out. Think about how nature preserves and transfers its own seeds. That sunflower hangs there in in nature until it's so dried out that then the seeds disperse. And by then, kind of all the moisture's out of them, so they're not germinating on the plant. Like, there's all of these processes that go into it naturally. That's what we're trying to mimic when we save seeds. Some interesting ones that you don't save from seed would be things like a garlic. Now, you can, because garlic has this awesome flower that it grows on the top of it called a scape, and they're awesome.
I love garlic scapes. I call them garlic poppers. I put them in our salads.
Yeah, you can eat them.
We've actually got them in a vase out there. We just pick them.
Yeah, they look really cool.
Yeah.
So the plant does reproduce seeds. Same with a potato. I don't know if you knew this. You leave a potato to go for long enough, and they're called true potato seeds, whereas normally what most gardeners do is seed potato, which is you take the potato that was in the ground and then replant it. Same with the garlic. You take the individual clove of garlic, pop it in the ground that way up, and it's going to grow a whole garlic plant from that. So the 5 or 6 cloves from one. So different plants have different methods of how you collect them, when you collect them, how long to leave them in the garden, how you dry them out, or what you've got to do for them before they go into a packet or into your storage. And honestly, we couldn't cover all of that in this video.
And it's not, that's overwhelming.
Yeah.
We didn't learn like that. We learned one plant at a time. I think the first seeds I ever saved were basil seeds.
Yeah.
And from there, I got an understanding of what that was like. So then I kind of knew what to do with broccoli seeds.
Keep it simple at first. There's so much to learn. You know, just as an example, a cauliflower and a broccoli are like close cousins. If you let them both go to seed, like develop those flowers at the same time, and a pollinator like a bee comes, you know, and hops on your cauliflower flower and then jumps over onto your broccoli flower, those hybrids that we were talking about, you're going to get this like Frankenstein cauliflower broccoli. The seeds that come then from both or one of those plants are going to be basically unusable. You don't know all those little intricate things at first. So just start really simple. Just decide to let one plant, a bean or a pea is a nice easy one to do. Just let it dry out on the vine, save them, put them in a packet, try that, have a win this year, and then broaden and expand from there.
$50 to $100 will get you up and running, and you can start that whole process again as long as we can. But I guess if we can't, then you're not going to be watching this YouTube video either, will you? Tinfoil hat off.
If there's no internet, bye for now.
Good luck.
So yeah, your backup plan or your safety net can always be your heirloom seeds from your seed supplier, but what you're not getting there year after year is that genetic specificity to your climate, which is what we're going for. Every year I want to pick the strongest plant, the largest sunflower, the most cloves per garlic, whatever it might be, and that's what I'm saving year after year. I'm going to do what nature does through natural selection, and the strongest will survive, and our gardens will become more abundant in the process. All right, well, we've got a ton of organizing to do. We've got to sort out this order. We've got some seeds that need saving from some plants from this season. So we're going to get stuck into that. But I want to know from you down in that comments section, tell us about the system you use. What have you seen, or what do you actually do that works for you? Everyone's got a different system that works for them. I'm up for new ideas, and I know our community is going to be as well. So share your ideas down below. And the other thing I want to know is, tell me your favorite seed or your favorite variety. Like for me this year, it's this little yellow tomato. I'm going to go on and on about it. In previous years, it was my Nicola potato, and I've made videos about that as well. Tell us your favorite plant that you've saved seeds from, or that you would want to, and why.
It'll always and forever be the sunflower for me.